Hello everyone, I'm back. So today we're going to be talking about, are they teaching critical race theory in schools? So I think it'll be worth unpackaging this idea just a little bit so that we can better understand this and we can talk about it a little more coherently. So critical race theory is basically just an extension of Marxism. So Marxism, something that flows from Marxism is this idea, this critical theory that there are these two sets of people basically, bourgeoisie and the proletariat. The bourgeoisie are the rich, the wealthy, the elite, and then the proletariats are the poor and, in this case, the oppressed. Well, in America, oftentimes the proletariat style person often becomes, through hard work and determination, they often become a bourgeoisie style wealthy person, right? They can pull themselves up. This is a meritocracy, and the harder you work, the better your ideas, the more you put in, the more you get out. Oftentimes, it doesn't always work out perfectly, but oftentimes this is the case. I myself even came from some pretty humble beginnings, but, I'm not rich by any means, but I'm comfortable, okay? So here we have this continuation of Marxism where we got to find out who's a victim and who's a victimizer. And so we know that in America there has been a lot of, like in many, many other countries, there's been a lot of race relation problems, right? So in America we have a dirty past with slavery, not uncommon in many other nations have the same history, but here in America that's leveraged against us. And then the same way in Europe. So in America we're like, oh, America's the only racist country. It's the only country that ever had slavery. And, in Europe, they're being told the same thing. Oh, this is the only racist country that's ever been. So depending on which country you're in, that's the only racist country. That's the only country that's ever had slavery. All right, well, which we all know, slavery is a human endeavor that has lasted for probably shortly after humans came on the scene. There was probably slavery, and we've got evidence for it back thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Okay, critical race theory is this idea that in America, everything is racist. Racism is inherent. All of our systems were made by white racist people, and therefore they're all racist and they all benefit white people, and all white people are engaged in this, whether they know it or not. They have implicit bias, and the idea is that all white people are the oppressor. They're the bourgeoisie, and anybody who's not white is then the proletariat. They're the oppressed. Okay? So we get this all the time, that the defense for critical race theory in being taught in schools is that, oh, critical race theory is just honest history. It's not racist. When in fact, it's developed straight from critical theory. Critical race theory, okay? So it's absolutely pitting one race against another. It is very racist. And it's not very logical. One of the issues with critical race theory is that it's unfalsifiable. If you say it doesn't exist, then you are racist, and you just don't want to come to terms with your white guilt. And if you say it does exist, then you are also racist. So you confirm it either way. And this is a non-falsifiable idea. It's not logical in the least, okay? And it's never intended to be. Every proponent has a different view about and different arguments, and they all conflict with each other because the ideas all conflict with each other because it's all made up hooey. And so that's why all these people come to the defense of critical race theory saying, oh, Robin DiAngelo's not a critical race theorist. Ibram X. Kendi's not a critical race theorist. It's because that's the way they try to justify and keep this thing unfalsifiable, is because if you don't know what it is, then you can't falsify it, right? So this is being taught in schools. It is. I'm going to tell you, I'm an educator. My district, we haven't really gotten to this stage yet. I think they're kind of hesitant because it's probably going to become illegal because I live in a red state. But even in this district, our training is starting to use critical race language. When you hear words like disrupt, why should school be disrupting anything? We have this idea that we're just teaching honest history, when in reality, it has nothing to do with honest history. You get this term thrown around that we're whitewashing. And I want to say this. I heard some ignorant people saying this on Twitter, that whitewashing is a word that derives from white people trying to cover things up. That's why it's called whitewashing, because white people are trying to erase history. Whitewash was like a lime-based paint that they used to paint over things when they were dirty. So they would kind of, instead of scrubbing them, they would kind of try and sanitize it a little and just put a fresh coat of white paint over it to make it look new. So that's where that comes from. History's not being whitewashed. Just think to your own education. Do you know what slavery is? Were you taught that America had slave-owning states? Were you taught about some of the horrors of slavery? Yes. Matter of fact, that's probably the only two things that people know in history in America anymore, because the educational system is so poor and the teachers aren't given the support they need and the family unit is breaking down so much. The only thing we come away knowing in history in high school just about is that Hitler's bad. We don't know why, but we know he's bad. We're taught that. And then we also know that there was slavery in America. Those are about the only things we know. It's actually kind of sad. The person who was talking about whitewashing history didn't even know what whitewashing meant. So, a lot of historical scholars here in America. But anyway, the point is, no one's trying to erase slavery. That's the most absurd, ridiculous argument I've ever heard, because that is the one thing that all of us know, and we did hear about it in school, right? Is there anybody who didn't hear about slavery in school, in public school? I've never met a single person. And I grew up in a very backwards, very southern, very rural, like everything that, basically the stereotype of a conservative that's a straw man that liberals build. I actually lived in a town where the people were like that. It's very rare in real life, but that was actually a town. I grew up right next to a town that was just like that, okay? Not even there did I escape hearing about slavery and how bad it was, okay? So this is an absurd idea. Is it being taught? Well, you got one gigantic teachers union saying, no, it's not. This is just a scare tactic by conservative politicians. And then you have another gigantic teachers union where you can go online and look up the list of the names of the people committing themselves to teaching critical race theory in school. So is it being taught in school? Yes. Some people are lying about it. Some people are blatantly honest. So I want you to know it is a very racist thing. It's pitting black people against white people against black people. It teaches that white people are inherently evil and that all of American systems and even meritocracy are evil, racist things, which is untrue. Why is working hard to achieve something great a white thing? That sounds like the most racist nonsense I've ever heard, but that's what they're teaching children. So they're teaching people that being white is bad and all these good things are called whiteness, and so don't do them. And so I think everyone should be against this. It's racist, it's wrong-headed, it's a horrible thing to teach to young children, and yes, they are doing it, okay? And given time, if nobody stands up, they'll be doing it everywhere, even in my district, where I think the people's hearts really are a lot of times in the right places. So that's it. I hope I clarified some things. Go and look this stuff up. Don't just trust me and my word for it. You can go look up anything I told you. You can go look up the history of critical theory. You can look up the history of critical race theory. You can look up these teacher unions meetings. You can go see the people who signed the pledge to teach it and where they teach at. It is a real thing. So don't let all these people double speak and tell these different lies that do not corroborate each other. Don't let them get away with this. You're not a fool. You're not a sheep. Look things up for yourself. Use some critical thinking. I hope everybody has an excellent day, and I will see everyone next time. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please consider liking and subscribing. Also, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments section, even if you disagree with me. I would love to have a conversation with you.